the ride-along were treated for minor injuries and released.
Based on past experience, these are usually the busiest cruising days of the year at Mission Beach. But due to the city's new anti-cruising law, these summer days are turning out to be the slowest and quietest ever. The idea behind the cruising ban is to reduce congestion on Mission Boulevard and to prevent violence. Beach residents used to feel threatened by cruisers, but the success of the cruising ban offers them some support.
We were for as severe a sanction as we could on people cruising and alcohol and everything, but ever since they imposed that, everything's just gotten real nice down here.
I mean, I think it's a great thing because now you don't feel that you're trapped in your own community anymore. It's much better.
Since the cruising ban went into effect, police have the option to set up checkpoints. Two-time cruisers can be stopped and given a warning. Three-time offenders can be given a ticket. Firefighters engulfed in smoke have certainly become a familiar sight lately. This morning was no exception. Firefighters were called to this house fire in the 6300 block of 50th Street. The fire apparently began in the garage where the homeowner's son had been living. Firefighters immediately broke into the garage.
We did our best to try and get in there, but it was pretty difficult. And we wound up being very, very fortunate. The son, who normally would be in that area sleeping, had decided to stay elsewhere last night.
There was a lot to be thankful for. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was hurt, including this little dog. Fire investigators are still looking at what caused the fire.
Earlier tonight, we told you about a rat-infested neighborhood in Serra Mesa. Residents in the 8600 block of Onalaska say the rodents won't go away because one family on the block continues to let discarded items pile up in their yard.
There's no way to imagine when you see all the rats that come over this fence here from the other side, how you feel. You think about your kids coming out here. My kids can't play out here. I can't even use our jacuzzi at night because of the fear of the rats coming around.
The owners of the house, John and Mary Cruz, declined an on-camera interview, but they say they're working with the city to clean up the yard. The couple says they've already begun to put poison in the yard to get rid of the rodents, and the couple hopes to have everything straightened out in the next few weeks. A group of protesters gathered outside the Bahia Resort today to demonstrate their opposition to a planned expansion project. Some passing motorists honked their horns to show support. The protesters are upset that a proposed expansion of the Bahia Hotel would eliminate public parking. It would also block access to a recreational area used by windsurfers, kayakers, and Italian bocce ball players.
It should be understood by everyone that it is much more than an Italian issue. It's an issue for the citizenry of San Diego to be concerned with, because it involves a giveaway, underlying giveaway on the part of the city and a land grab on the part of the Bahia Hotel operators.
Some protesters are calling for the resignation of Juan Vargas, a member of the Coastal Commission who approved the expansion plan.
It may be called Labor Day, but for many, Monday is a holiday. For others, Labor Day is just another day at work. Jennifer Bauman has both sides of the story as we head into the finale of this three-day weekend.
Topping our worldwide news tonight, China opens a controversial women's conference.
The government put on a lavish ceremony, even as it faces accusations of trying to muzzle activists. Top Chinese leaders assembled in the Great Hall of the People to welcome the delegates from more than 180 nations. A parallel meeting of women's rights groups has complained of tight Chinese security. Despite being urged to boycott the conference, Hillary Rodham Clinton is headed to Beijing and will address the conference on Tuesday.
In Bosnia, a new ultimatum for the Serbs tonight. Western diplomats say the Serb rebels have until 11 p.m. Monday to pull their big guns back from the hills surrounding the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo and the other so-called UN safe areas. If they don't comply, the UN diplomats say the Serbs will face a resumption of airstrikes. NATO officials say the Serbs also must give the UN complete freedom of movement and allow the reopening of Sarajevo's airport. The airstrikes were suspended Friday to talk things over.
In Geneva, Switzerland, authorities say a hijacker who threatened to blow up a French airliner was mentally unbalanced. The 33-year-old Spaniard commandeered the French plane as a protest against the resumption of French nuclear tests in the South Pacific. The plane was forced to land in Geneva. All 289 passengers on board were released unharmed before police overpowered the hijacker. The man was acting on his own and did not appear to belong to any anti-nuclear group. An initial search of the plane revealed no explosives.
A man with a history of mental problems held an Hermosa Beach woman at knife point for more than an hour today in a McDonald's restaurant in Lancaster near Los Angeles. Dai Kim allegedly walked into the restaurant around noon today and slid into a booth where Kim Miller was eating with her mother. Kim pulled out a knife and held it to Miller's throat. Deputies and a hostage negotiator arrived and evacuated the restaurant, leaving only Kim and Miller inside. A sheriff's SWAT team finally entered the restaurant and took Kim into custody. Miller was not hurt.
A Detroit newspaper strike has escalated into a standoff between police and 1,200 demonstrators outside a suburban Detroit printing plant. Picketers blocked the entrance to prevent the Sunday edition of the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press from being delivered to the plant in Sterling Heights. The strike over job cuts, wages, and work rules is in its 8th week. Officers used tear gas earlier in the day when some demonstrators fought back as police tried to force them away from the main gate. Several people were arrested. Still to come on 10 News Weekend, Sean Stiles tells us if it's going to rain on your holiday.
And he'll show us how big those crowds got at the beaches today. Weather and a lot more after this. Esta es la cárcel del estado en Tijuana, mejor conocida como la 8. Anteriormente era la cárcel preventiva municipal. Originalmente fue creada solamente para personas detenidas por delitos menores. Ahora el sistema ha cambiado. En 1994, el gobierno del estado ordenó que fueran trasladados a esta cárcel prisioneros que se encontraban en la penitenciaría del estado por haber cometido homicidios y otros delitos mayores. Actualmente hay 85 detenidos peligrosos en la cárcel de la 8.
La verdad es que cuando una persona que es trasladada de otro centro penitenciario, lo que hacemos al momento de recibir sus documentos es nosotros buscar sus antecedentes. Cuando una persona ingresa aquí, que es de los considerados peligrosos, la mayoría de ellos ya recorrió toda la entidad, es decir, fue trasladado a Mexicali, aquí en Tijuana, penitenciaría, o incluso en Ensenada.
Contrario a lo que pudiera pensarse, los internos de la cárcel estatal de la 8 tienen acceso a ciertos favores. Aquí los prisioneros pueden tener visitas, televisiones en sus celdas y usar el teléfono y también una biblioteca. El director de la cárcel dice que el problema de sobrepoblación penitenciaria empieza con la explosión demográfica que se registra en Tijuana. Entre más gente, más delitos. Por desgracia, no se cuenta ni con recursos económicos ni con personal suficiente para hacer frente en forma eficaz al problema.
Bueno, la crisis nos ha estado afectando a todos en el gobierno del estado. Si hablamos sobre qué sería la solución para resolver nuestros problemas, sería de manera general, es decir, todos los centros necesitaríamos más recursos.
Actualmente, la sobrepoblación penitenciaria es un grave problema, pero podría agravarse si las autoridades no destinan más recursos para hacerle frente. Para Notivisa, informa Laura Castañeda, Tijuana.
Escuelas de Tijuana están siendo el blanco de los delincuentes.
Supuestamente es un lugar seguro para los niños, pero estos días la Escuela Jardín de Niños Mariana en la zona norte de Tijuana es todo menos eso. En varias ocasiones, vándalos y adictos han robado y saqueado el edificio, llevándose todo, incluyendo puertas, ventanas y lavamanos.
El DIF se lavó las manos completamente, vino, limpió todo, quitó todo lo que decía DIF, pintaron algunas cosas, limpiaron todo lo que habían dejado los vándalos, incluso medicinas que habían dejado del DIF, papeles, actas de nacimiento dejaron tirado,
¿Y si
todo.
la escuela no está aquí, ¿qué van a hacer?
Pues no vamos a dejar que pase eso. Los padres de familia estamos aquí, queremos apoyar precisamente por nuestros niños, por la comunidad, por los niños chiquitos que tenemos que van a entrar aquí a esta escuela también.
La escuela y el edificio de enseguida están a cargo del DIF, Oficina del Servicio Social, Gobierno del Estado. Después del robo, los empleados regresaron a limpiar el lugar, dejando olvidado un combi y no han regresado. Los padres creen que también el DIF tiene la culpa porque ya hace mucho habían solicitando ayuda sin obtenerla. Por eso se organizaron ellos mismos para la protección de sus niños.
No la vamos a dejar las instalaciones, están instalados ellos aquí las 24 horas haciendo guardias para proteger la escuela y para que se decida sobre este edificio que tenemos anexo de DIF.
Los padres dicen que la seguridad de sus hijos es primero. Ellos continuarán la guardia hasta que se solucione el problema. Para Notivisa, informa Laura Castañeda, Tijuana.
Bueno, Laura Castañeda, usted escuchó ya su excelente reporte, esta información. Laura Castañeda es reportera de Canal 10 de San Diego. Algunas de las imágenes que observó usted en la información anterior fueron captadas por el camarógrafo de Canal 10, León Barzano, otras por nuestro compañero Andrés Serrano. Es parte de un convenio de colaboración que usted seguramente ya ha tenido la oportunidad de apreciar, que tenemos entre Canal 12 de Tijuana, Canal 10 de San Diego, un convenio de colaboración establecido por los directores de ambas estaciones, con el fin de acercar mucho más a las comunidades de San Diego y de Tijuana y lograr que tanto los reporteros de Tijuana como los reporteros que trabajan en San Diego tengan un conocimiento más cercano, más palpable, más en el lugar de los hechos de lo que ocurre en la ciudad vecina. Nuestra compañera Lourdes Sandoval está actualmente haciendo la misma labor que hace Laura Castañeda aquí con nosotros, ella en las instalaciones de Canal 10. Vamos a hacer una pausa, regresamos con los deportes en Notivisa.
El Sistema Municipal para el Desarrollo Integral de la Familia busca alternativas para dar una mejor alimentación a la niñez tijuanense.
14 cocineras representando escuelas primarias ponen sus mejores esfuerzos en una competencia para preparar desayunos mejor balanceados. El evento es organizado por el Sistema para el Desarrollo Integral de la Familia, DIF municipal. Los jueces buscan que se prepare comida más balanceada con mejor presentación, higiene y costo que no exceda a los 2 nuevos pesos.
Este es un intento de enseñarles cómo ellos pueden con sus mismos platillos, pero a lo mejor combinándolos diferente o a lo mejor añadiéndoles algo más, pueden mejorar mucho la alimentación y además ver la forma en que eso puede ser más económico y finalmente pues conseguir que mejoremos la salud de los niños en Tijuana.
Las ganadoras forman parte de una organización llamada Corpusí Nueva América. Ellas dicen que a veces resulta difícil convencer a los niños de comer alimentos de buen sabor y sobre todo sanos.
Tiene mucha proteína, tiene vegetales, lleva fruta y su postre que está hecho de arroz y lleva leche, un complemento todo para los niños, balanceado.
Y con tantos comerciales orientados hacia los niños para que compren cereales dulces, en ocasión resulta difícil lograr una alimentación adecuada. Productos que en ese tipo tienen un buen sabor, pero no tienen las suficientes vitaminas para darles la energía que necesitan. Todas las cocineras son voluntarias, algunas son madres de los estudiantes. Ellas compran, cocinan y sirven la comida cada día. Hoy las ganadoras fueron solamente 3 grupos, pero según dice la doctora Barcardí, realmente todas son triunfadoras porque trabajan en beneficio de los niños. Para Notivisa en Tijuana, informa Laura Castañeda.
While authorities try to piece together what caused the suspect to snap, the victims' families are left to cope with their losses. Laura Castaneda is live at Border Patrol headquarters, where agents are mourning the loss of one of their own. Laura?
That's right, Carol. A very sad and emotional day for all the agents here in the San Diego sector. If you look over my shoulder, you can see that the flags are flying at half-staff. This in memory of Larry Pierce, a 15-year veteran of this agency. News of yesterday's tragedy is sinking in now as family and friends of both victims try to deal with their pain. Family and friends pay their respects to the widow and sons of Border Patrol agent Larry Pierce. Agents outside Pierce's Chula Vista home display black banners over their badges in memory of their slain co-worker.
He saw something wrong going against the law, and he acted on it, and it cost him his life.
Relatives of the second victim, Stephen Getz, are too upset to talk on camera, but describe Getz as a friendly person who worked hard as an inspector for a shipbuilding firm. A native of Minnesota, Getz lived with his girlfriend. The couple planned to be married next month. Back at the Canyon Club, it's business as usual as patrons try to forget the bloodshed. Red roses hang on the door near the spot where Getz lay dead yesterday. Bartender Ellen Woolcott says his friend Stephen Getz will be missed.
He would come here after doing chores, after mowing his yard. He'd come in for a cool one and then leave, and he'd be back, you know, after. He just lived around the corner from here. This is neighborhood place, and I don't know.
Funeral arrangements for Larry Pierce are to be held August 21st on Monday at 2 p.m. at the Balboa Oregon Pavilion. Stephen Getz relatives tell me, Carol, that his body will most likely be flown to Minnesota, where he's from, so that he can be laid to rest where his parents live.
Laura, you mentioned the two victims who did die. What about the third victim who survived?
Well, we've learned that 37-year-old Juan Reese was released from a hospital today. He declined to talk to the media. He was treated for stab wounds, and obviously he's healing from those stab wounds physically, but emotionally it may take some time, Carol.
Understandably. Thank you, Laura.
20-year-old Mary Lane Abwig has been missing for more than a week, but today homicide detectives confirm her body has been found.
Laura Castaneda joins us now with the latest on the case. Laura, what do you know so far?
Well, Lisa and Ted, the victim's body was already decomposed when it was found. It's not known how long the body had been there, but today we've learned authorities have questioned the woman's husband, the last person to see her alive. The body of 20-year-old Marianne Abweg was discovered Friday afternoon north of I-8 on Kitchen Creek Road. Detectives won't say how she died, but the case is being investigated as a homicide.
The whole time they told me last night that she was dead, I was like, no, she's going to be home when I come home. Then when I finally got home this morning, she wasn't here. So what they told me had to have been true.
According to Upton, detectives questioned him last night for 4 hours and confiscated his car. Homicide investigators are being tight-lipped about the case, saying only that no one is being ruled out as a suspect at this time.
I just wish they would find the killer and stop looking at me because I'm not the one. I mean, I love my wife with all my heart.
Upton admits he and his wife had problems in their relationship, but with a 3-month-old son in the picture, he says the couple was working toward making things better.
I just wanted to come home, walk through the door right now, so all this will be over with. Because I know she's still alive. They haven't showed me she's dead, so there's no way she's dead to me. She's still alive until I see otherwise.
We want to make clear that Russell Upton has not been charged with any wrongdoing. He says he's fully cooperating with authorities, and Lisa and Ted Upton says he just wants to know how this all happened and why.
This is just such a sad story all the way around. You mentioned they have a 3-month-old baby. Who has the baby right now?
Right now, Upton says that his parents are caring for the child and the baby's out of state, and right now he's not sure how he's going to be able to care for the child.
Right. Thanks for that report.
Voters stand in line in the Zona Rio to cast ballots for mayor and governor of the state of Baja California. IDs are checked and fingerprints taken. This is an important race and one these Mexican citizens are proud to be a part of. The elections are taking place and a lot of people are turning out, she says. I'm very happy to see this.
Baja California significa un cambio.
Baja California is a significant place for change, she says. A change in attitudes, in corruption, and most of all in political power. Voters here in the state of Baja California made history in 1989 when they elected Ernesto Rufo into office. Rufo was the first governor backed by the opposition, the Conservative National Action Party known as PAN. It was quite a victory considering the Institutional Revolutionary Party, or PRI, had not lost an election in more than 60 years. Once again, Baja voters are left to decide which party should keep that control. So why should we as Americans care about the political process here in Mexico? Well, the outcome of this election will no doubt impact San Diego in more ways than one.
If Mexico was 10,000 miles away, it really wouldn't affect us that much. But Mexico is our border country, it is our neighbor, and everything from immigration to business to human contacts and human relationships, all those things have a dramatic impact here in San Diego.
Nearly 50% of the voters are registered in Baja California, a clear indication that this state wants its political voice heard. And depending on which party wins, that voice will no doubt be heard across international lines. Laura Castañeda, 10 News. Signs posted in Tijuana restaurants advise customers that no alcohol is being sold today. Even the liquor stores are closed. The reason? It's election time in Mexico. The ley seca, or dry law, is now in effect. It prohibits the sale of alcohol in stores and restaurants 24 hours before and 24 hours after Election Day.
Is this new for down here, or has it always been this way?
The law catches a few Americans off guard. Many were counting on a beer or a margarita with lunch.
I would have liked to know that it was election day. I probably wouldn't have come down this weekend.
Really?
Probably not, but that's okay.
Politics is serious business here in Mexico, and the majority of the citizens we spoke with today agree that a ban on alcohol helps keep the election process fair and orderly.
El gobierno ha cerrado.
We know the government declares a dry law to prohibit problems by those who drink. I believe it helps keep the elections clean and quiet.
But with weekends bustling with tourists, some restaurants are concerned that the loss of alcohol sales today and tomorrow will cost them thousands of dollars in business, and that tourists might get the wrong idea and feel slighted.
With that attitude, the people might think that it's a rejection. Then they might get a negative impression of the business, especially us, the restaurants who depend on that business.
In addition to the alcohol ban, carrying arms is also prohibited, and the laws will be enforced as extra police man the streets of Mexico this election weekend. Laura Castañeda, 10 News, Tijuana. This was the scene yesterday in Campo, a small community 50 miles east of San Diego. By the time it was over, more than 1,500 acres would be charred in this brush fire. 5 firefighters would suffer heat-related injuries, and nearby residents would be evacuated from their homes. Today, dozens of firefighters and highly trained teams of hotshots are back at the scene, sifting through charred remains, making sure the area is safe. With no visible flames out here, you might think that the danger is over, but that's not the case. Firefighters say with the sun beating down and temperatures soaring into the triple digits, they want to be prepared just in case this wildfire starts up again.
Dead fire could become alive, and so what we're trying to do is secure the fire line so that way if the winds pick up, it wouldn't blow any hot ash across the line and create the fire again.
Residents are grateful for the firefighters' efforts, thankful their homes are still standing.
I think somebody up there loves us. Robert? That's the way I feel. I think somebody up there loves us.
Miraculously, no lives or homes were lost, but there is plenty of destruction left behind. Melted power lines and phone lines lay among the burnt brush. As of this evening, most power is restored, but it could take some time before phone service is back. Most residents agree it's an inconvenience, but none compared to the damage which could have been done. Laura Castañeda, 10 News, Campo.
When they left the bottom, when they got to about, he figures, 80 feet,
He was out and he went to his spare bottle, and at that time he lost hold of the other guy who was negative.
Shortly after 10 this morning, the lifeguard dive team and Coast Guard helicopter set out in search of the missing victim, 34-year-old Bob Pearson.
Yeah, pretty much. And then what they're going to do when he gets on scene, they're going to do an orchestrated 80-foot dive. According to the victim's friend John, the two men entered the La Jolla Canyon about 9:30. John is a master diver for an international organization. His friend is certified in the sport. The pair were at an estimated 180 feet underwater when their air supply started running low. Clinging to one another, the two tried to surface to the top. After a struggle, John would eventually make it alone.
His friend may also have run out of air and panicked and tried to rocket up to the surface. And what he described is going along the gradual part of the canyon and then getting to the steep wall of it and going down and really perhaps not being aware of how deep they had gone.
The victim's diving partner waits on the sidelines wrapped in a blanket, too visibly shaken to talk about what happened. As time passes on, hope that Bob Pearson might be found alive is fading fast.